Today we're going to talk about some yoga history. Are you a serious yoga student? Are you a yoga teacher? See, I believe knowing where we are and where we're going to go to, you got to know where you came from. When you have an understanding of history, how yoga connects back to India, it's going to give you such a greater understanding of the subject, and it's going to make it more enjoyable and give you more credibility. So, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, also known as the Trimurti. Have you heard of these guys? Because I'm going to tell you all about them in this episode, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is Jimmy Barkin. I've been teaching teachers to teach yoga since the late 1980s. And then when I created my own style of yoga called the Barkin Method back in 2002, I started my own condensed, concentrated teacher training program, and I felt an obligation to learn more about the history of yoga and then pass it on to my students who are now teachers all over the world. And as I get older, I got fascinated with the history and fascinated with the subject. So if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, also known as the Trimurti, also known as the three forms. Tri is three in Sanskrit. Also in some parts of Jersey. Just kidding. I got tree. So Trikonasana, three angle. Tri, Kan is angle. So Trikonasana, the little Sanskrit lesson. So Brahma is the creator. Now, this is really important to understand. Yoga definitely connects to Hinduism. Hinduism is a monotheistic religion, meaning one God. But they have thousands of gods and goddesses. It's very hard to keep track of who all these gods and goddesses are. So they are different aspects of the one God. So Brahma is the creative aspect of God, even though that's a little bit dissimilar to Western religion, where in Judaism and Christianity you see as God as the creator. And why it's dissimilar is because Brahma is the least important of the three, or definitely the least popular of the three. He creates the universe, and that's pretty much it. Now, there's one temple that I know of in Mumbai. I've actually been there. I was there in the year 2000. But there's not many temples that are erected in Brahma's honor. There's no one particular group that looks to Brahma and worships Brahma. He did have a wife, or a consort. In fact, I've got the statue here. And her name was Saraswati. Saraswati, also known as an extinct river in India. And she's playing the veena, which is before the sitar. It's like a little string guitar instrument. Saraswati is his wife. Second, on the Trimurti is Vishnu. So Brahma creates, now Vishnu sustains. He keeps the world spinning on its axis. He keeps us from blowing each other up. He also had a consort or a wife, and I've got her back here on my altar. And her name is Lakshmi. How many of you have heard of Lakshmi? She's the goddess of beauty, but also money, wealth, and good fortune. So if you want more abundance in your life, pray to Lakshmi, but also pray to Vishnu. Should be more apt to grant you your wish. That's for sure. So Vishnu is definitely the most popular of the three. And my theory, and there's actually a group in India that worships Vishnu. So it's sort of a matrix within Hinduism, and they are called Vaishyas or Vaishnavas. So my theory on why Vishnu is the most popular is because he had these 10 incarnations, which is parallel to Darwin's theory of evolution, the concept of it. So what happens is every time there's a significant life evolution on the planet, Vishnu comes down to teach us how to be, and that's a particular species. So the first significant life force is the fish. So now Vishnu comes down as Matsya, the fish, to teach us how to be fish. And when I say comes down, he comes down as an avatar. So not an avatar like, in social media or in video games, but an avatar meaning a descending being. He comes down from grace to teach us how to be. There are many different avatars throughout yogic history. So the fish climbs out of the the water becomes the reptile or korma. Korma from Ardha Karmasana, half tortoise pose, or Purna Karmasana, full tortoise pose. The reptile climbs out of the water to the land. It becomes the warm-blooded mammal. Vishnu comes down again as Varaha, or the boar, or the pig. So they chose Varaha to be the bottom of the food chain for warm-blooded mammals, because then the next one is the highest on the food chain, and that's Narasimha. Simha is lion. And it's interesting why they chose lion, because they have tigers in India, and tiger's a bigger cat than lion. So I'm sort of perplexed why they chose lion, but they did. The king of the jungle, I guess. So, and we know Simha from Simasana. Do you ever do Simasana in yoga class, where you put your paws out and your face opens? It's actually good for the throat. It opens up the back of the throat. Simha. So actually in Africa, the word for lion is Simba in Swahili. So they took it from the Sanskrit Simha. Interesting, right? Disney didn't come up with that in their think tank when they were creating The Lion King. My little pet, Simba, we named him after the Lion King, Simba, my little Yorkie. The cutest of all the mammals, but Vishnu didn't come down and incarnate as my pet. Anyway, so now he comes the first human incarnation, or Bamana, which is the short man. And it's more short man, I think, in brain than it is in body, the Neanderthal. And we do Bamana Asana in our advanced class, which is short man pose. And then becomes the conqueror. Then the conqueror becomes Rama, the first civilized incarnation. And then the eighth, by far the most popular of all, Krishna. And Krishna, you can always know Krishna because he's playing the flute. I don't have a statue of him here. Krishna. Now, the ones that worship Vishnu, these Vaishnavas I was talking about, or Vaishyas, they actually look at Krishna in an even higher esteem than Vishnu himself. So Krishna, to the Vaishyas, is very similar to Jesus Christ would be to the Christians. So Christ, Krishna, the similarity to those words are supposedly not done by coincidence. Krishna, by far the most popular god or goddess in India. And then there's Buddha. They say Buddha is the ninth incarnation, even though the Buddhists would not consider Buddha to be an incarnation of Vishnu. Side note. And then Kalki. This is interesting. Kalki is the avatar yet to come. So in India, they have these, in yogic history or yogic philosophy, they have what they call these yugas, or these long time periods. It could be 1,500, 2,000 years long. We're still in the third or fourth yuga, where we have about another 700 years to go. So in the year 2,700 to 2,800, we will hit another time period where everyone is enlightened. Wouldn't that be nice? We're not going to see it in this lifetime, that's for sure. So now Vishnu comes down one last time as Kalki, teaches how to be in that state. Very similar to Judaism waiting for the Messiah, Christianity, the second coming of Christ. So this is now their concept of the last time Vishnu would come to teach and teach us how to be. Now the third guy, Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer, but not like the Grim Reaper. So you got Brahma that creates, Vishnu sustains, and Shiva destroys to redeem. He destroys to make way for new life. For example, vultures would be an expression of Shiva as they clean the carcass off the land to clean the earth. Hurricanes or typhoons are an act of Shiva. The storm cleans out the garbage at the bottom of the ocean, cleans out the debris. If we didn't have hurricanes, the ocean would decay. I live in South Florida. Every time we'd have a hurricane that was close by, about a week later, you would see a massive amount of seaweed that would wash up onto the beach. I mean, a massive amount. Cleans it right out. Now, he had a wife, Shiva, even though the rumor was Shiva was in love with Lakshmi, Vishnu's wife, but she turned him down for Vishnu, and there's all these different stories about all the god and goddesses, very much like a soap opera kind of thing. So I'm not going to get into it. So his wife was Parvati, or Uma is another name for her, as in Uma Thurman, the actress. A lot of times people will go to an ashram or they'll go to a guru, and the guru will give them a Sanskrit name like Samadhi or Radha, who was the wife of Krishna, or Saraswati or whatever. She was actually given that name at birth because her father, Uma Thurman's father, is a Hindu yogic philosophy scholar. He travels the world teaching you what I'm teaching you right now. So he named his daughter after the goddess Uma. I don't have a Parvati statue, but I do have the statue of their son. So Shiva and Parvati, or Shiva and Uma, had a son, and his name was, and I'm sure you guys know this guy, Ganesh, the elephant-faced god. I'll tell you about him in another video. I bought this in India too. Weighs like 40 pounds. I had to take it over like 3 flights to get it home. I could do curls with this thing. It's heavy, but I love it. This is my favorite one. Isn't this cool? It's made out of avertine, which is, it's not jade. It looks like jade. So what's cool about Shiva? Shiva is now, when we talk about how this is now translates to modern day times in our yoga. Let's go back to Vishnu first before I tell about Shiva. Vishnu, when he was incarnated as Krishna, he teaches his number one disciple, Arjuna, lessons on the battlefield in the Bhagavad Gita, which is considered to be the Hindu Bible. It's one episode of the great story of the Mahabharata. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches Arjuna lessons on the battlefield through 3 types of yoga. Karma yoga, which is the yoga of right action. We serve humanity. We do the right thing. We're good human beings, and we evolve. That's how we evolve to the immersion that we're trying to reach on our yoga journey. Jnana, or Jnana yoga, is the second, also pronounced Gnana with a G. Most you'll see it spelled with a J, J-N. Gnana, Gnana, Jnana, Jnana. Let's call the whole thing off. Sorry, it's an old song. So, Jnana yoga is the path of wisdom, where through the study of God, if you study God's word in the scriptures, like the Vedas or the Upanishads, again, another video, or the Bhagavad Gita, and you study in the word of God, you evolve intellectually, and then it eventually becomes spiritual. And the third, which is considered to be the highest form of yoga, Bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. So one particular niyama is called Ishvara Pranidhana, which is dedicating your acts and deeds to God. And in so doing, you evolve. So that's the beginning. That's like the origin of yoga, definitely coming from Krishna. I shouldn't say the origin, because it was a few thousand years even before Krishna, but that was definitely part of the popularity of now yoga reaching out to the masses. Now Shiva has a different path. So Shiva had a different type of yoga that he taught to his number one disciple, Matsyendra. So here's the quick story. Shiva's at the bottom of the ocean, and he's giving his dissertation on the path of Tantra yoga to his wife, Uma. Afterwards, he finds that she has fallen asleep, which definitely upset him. Maybe some of you are falling asleep right now. I hope not. But there is a fish that a while back had swallowed Matsyendra. Matsyendra was a fisherman. He was fishing, catches this fish. The fish pulls him off the boat because he was so big and swallows him. Very similar to the tale of Jonah, but it was a fish. So the fish was down at the bottom of the ocean while Shiva was giving this lecture. And Shiva says, "Has no one heard my words of wisdom?" And out of the belly of the fish, Matsyendra says, "I heard you, Master." He says, "Now I know who my true disciple is." He initiates Matsyendra instead of Uma. Matsyendra is now, the fish is actually caught 12 years later, because he now became a renunciant in those 12 years. And then they open up his belly, and out comes Matsyendra. He takes such a turn and twist in his life that they name the spine twist after Matsyendra, or Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. In advanced class, we do Matsyendrasana, just Lord of the Fishes pose, not half. I'm not going to show you how to do that one because I never could. Anyway, so now Matsyendra creates the Kaula path of Tantra Yoga. Out of that comes Goraksha, who creates, ready for the drum roll, Hatha Yoga. That's where Hatha Yoga comes from. It comes from the Tantric path. And the group that worships Shiva are the Shaivists. So this is a Shaivite lineage. Shiva teaches Matsyendra at the bottom of the ocean, creates the Kaula path of Tantra Yoga. Out of that comes the Nata sect, I forgot to mention that, the lords, the yoga adepts, and out of that comes Goraksha, and out of that comes Hatha. So as Hatha yogis, we're looking at Shiva more than Vishnu for our path, for our teachings. So now that's a brief description of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Trimurti, the three forms. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to say hi in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hit that little bell. Then you get notified because I'm going to be posting a video once a week on everything to do with yoga. It's my pleasure to give you as much information as I can. And I will see you at the next video.